What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another video, and today I have a very special video for you. So this video is really going to be talking about, it's actually one of our mentorship videos. This mentorship video actually broke down the Corporate Transparency Act, why it's so important, why you should or shouldn't dissolve your LLCs, why you should get rid of them, any of those sorts. So I want you to really take heed to the information. This is something that, you can obviously Google, you can obviously take care of, but I wanted to break it down on a more digestible level, and I even brought up the document for you as well. So I want you to take care of that. Watch this video. It's not very long. It's one of the videos from our courses, but I wanted to make sure that you all got the information first. All right, y'all. See you in there. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Corporate Transparency Act of 2024. Okay. So this Corporate Transparency Act pretty much enacted in Congress in 2021. The CTA requires many companies formed or operating in the United States to pretty much report information about their beneficial ownership to the FinCEN, which is to the Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, aka FinCEN, right? Which will store this sensitive information in a secure, confidential database. So in a nutshell, the CTA is requiring you to report all beneficial ownership to FinCEN, okay? Which means that usually when it comes to LLCs, they say, okay, well, it's fine. We'll just separate your entity from your personal. But in this case, because of all of the money laundering that's been going on and people masking their corporations, they're pretty much saying that we need to pretty much report to them, right? Because this is kind of like an anti-money laundering act. So as you can see here, this pretty much strengthens the anti-money laundering or / countering the anti-money laundering situation that's going on in the United States. Okay. So if you're not aware of what money laundering is, pretty much they're turning dirty money into clean money, right? So that's why a lot of, if you see in movies, they'll get street money and then put it into a laundromat. And then now that's clean money. That's called money laundering. Okay. And of course, the laundromat is where the word laundry, money laundering came from. So this is really important because the goal that they're trying to make is that they're trying to make it so you have to report all the beneficial ownership. So I'm going to go to the actual FinCEN website and go to the Small Entity Compliance Guide, because this is the guide that explains everything about the Corporate Transparency Act in detail. So if you want to check it out, I'll definitely put it in the button below, link below this video. So they're pretty much saying that this is required and it's not in effect until January 1st, 2024. Okay. Depending on when you're watching this video. This is super important because, and pretty much you need to get all these things in before January 21st. Now, the key thing here is if you get a LLC, it will last you until January 1st, 2025. Now, after 2025, you must either decide to keep your LLC and report everything, or transfer to a business trust. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down even more because that's not really going to break it down. So we're not going to cover all of these, but pretty much chapter 1 is really talking about, does my company have to report its beneficial owners, which is pretty much explaining to you what companies have to follow the Corporate Transparency Act, right? And then we're going to talk about who is the beneficial owner of my company. Then does my company have to report its company applicants, which is the people that are a part of it? And then chapter 4 is what specific information does my company need to report, which we definitely need to break that down. Number 5 is when and how should my company file its initial beneficial ownership report? And then number 6 is what if there are changes to or inaccuracies in reported information? So pretty much what if there's inaccuracies or changes that need to be reported or that happened on my report? Do I need to pretty much report those changes, right? So let's get into it. Let's not even waste any time, right? So beneficial owners, FinCEN is publishing this Small Entity Compliance Guide to help small entities comply with the requirements of the beneficial ownership information reporting rule. When do I actually need to report or file this information? Reports need to be accepted, like I said, January 1st, 2024. Okay. Reporting companies created or registered to business before 2024 will have additional time until January 1st, 2025 to file for the initial BOI report. Okay. So that's super important. If you create a LLC before 2024, your LLCs will last until 2025. That's what they're saying. They're saying reporting companies created or registered on or after January 24th and before January 2025 have a 90-day calendar after receiving actual or public notice that their companies created or registered is affected to file its initial beneficial ownership. So what it's saying is if you file on or after January 24th and before January 2025, you have 90 days to report. And if you don't report, then we're gonna talk about that in a second, right? But to be honest, they're gonna charge you $500 to $1,500 a day if you don't follow this. So I highly suggest that you all take action on this information. Okay, reporting companies created or registered on or after January 25th will have a 30 days from actual public notice that the company's creation or registration is effective to file initial beneficial reports. Remember when I said that any companies that are created before January 2024 have additional time until 2025. We're now talking about those companies. As soon as it hits 2025, we have 30 days to comply, okay, to report to the BOI reports, okay? That's pretty much what it's saying. Let's talk about, is my company a reporting company? This infographic is super important. So, under what laws was the company created or formed? Okay, if it's under the U.S. laws, including laws of the states and Indian tribes, then you have to ask yourself this question: is the company a corporation? Yes or no? If it is, then you may be a domestic reporting company, right? If not, then you ask yourself this question: is this company a limited liability company? If it is, then you have to report. That's what they're saying. If your company is a corporation, then you have to report. If your company is an LLC, then you have to report, right? The next question, if it's not an LLC and it's not a corporation, was the company created by the filing of a document with the Secretary of State or any similar office under the law of state or Indian tribe? Pretty much, was it filed in the Secretary of State website? Yes or no? If it is, then you have to report. If not, then you don't have to report the company. Now, the other side of this is this company created outside of the country. And if so, you may have to report it to like foreign reporting agencies, right? But 9 times out of 10, you do not. Right? But you would ask yourself this question: has the company registered to do business in any U.S. state or tribal jurisdiction by filing a document with the Secretary of State or similar office of the state or tribe? Yes, then you may have to file. No, then you don't have to file. So like this diagram is very, very simple for you to understand. Pretty much if you have a corporation, you file. If you have an LLC, you file. If you filed it with the Secretary of State, you file, right? If you don't do these 3 things, then you do not file. So it's very, very simple. It's not hard. So question: is my company exempt from the reporting requirements? So if you're not familiar with this, there are 23 exemptions to this if you're in the United States. Okay. So I want you to read over this, but I'm going to break this down in a second, right? Pretty much, if you're a securities reporting issuer, if you're a governmental authority, if you're a bank or credit union, if you're a depository institution holding company, if you're a money services business, if you're a broker or dealer in securities, if you're a securities exchange or clearing agency, if you're other Exchange Act registered entity, if you're an investment company or investment advisor, a venture capitalist, or which is a VC, an insurance company, if you're a state licensed insurance producer, if you're a Commodity Exchange Act registered entity, if you're an accounting firm, public utility, financial marketing utility, pooled investment vehicle, which is just a private equity fund, a tax exempt entity assisting a tax exempt entity, a large operation company, which is like an Elon Musk or Amazon or, you know, those huge companies. If you're a subsidiary of certain exempt entities or pretty much an inactive entity, you don't have to report. That's what they're saying. These are like special rules, special entities that are exempt from reporting everything. So eventually we're going to start being in this pooled investment vehicle because we want to become a private entity, right? And because when you're a private equity fund business or company, right? And if you do this, then this will kill all that. Just want to put that out there. And when we actually have our family business become an insurance company, we won't have to either. So moving on, what happens if my company does not report the BOI in the required time frame? Okay, this goes back to what I was saying before. I'm going to start from the second paragraph. The first paragraph just states that you have 90 days deadline to do the original report, but I'm going to start on the second. If you don't, then you have to pay $500 each day that violates and continues, right? Or if you don't do it, you'll get criminal penalties, including imprisonment for up to 2 years and a fine up to $10,000. Okay. Senior officers of an entity that fails to file required BOI report may be held accountable for that failure. I want y'all to understand, even tax people have to do this. All right. So this is pretty much what this paragraph states. Everything else is emphasizing more of what I already said. So you have to do it within 90 days of 2024. If you did not file if you file after 2025. And if you don't, then they will fine you. You will go to prison and or you will pay $10,000. Okay. So now let's talk about who is a beneficial owner of my company. All right. If your company is a reporting company, your next step is to identify its beneficial owners. A beneficial owner is any individual who directly or indirectly exercises substantial control over a reporting company or owns or control at least 25% of the ownership interest of the reporting company. So pretty much, if you're a beneficial owner is a person who owns the company or at least owns 25% of the company. That means you're considered a beneficial owner. Okay. What steps can I take to identify my company's beneficial ownership? This is important, right? Your company can identify beneficial owners by taking the following steps. Identify individuals who exercise substantial control over the company. Identify the types of ownership interests in your company and the individuals that hold it. And then you want to calculate the percentage, right? If you're at least 25%, then you are a beneficial owner. And then that's it. Let's scroll down to, does my company have to report it? Right. And so let's start here. Is my company required to report its company applicants? Not all reporting companies are required to report their applicants to FinCEN. A reporting company is required to report its company applicants if it's either a domestic reporting company or a foreign reporting company first registered when it's initially registered in the United States. So what that means is if you registered in the United States first and then you moved to foreign, you still have to report it. If you started in the United States and stayed in the United States, you have to report it, right? A reporting company is not required to report its company applicants if it's either a domestic company or a foreign company. So pretty much this is a diagram of what it said. Domestic, foreign, if it's created or registered on or after January 2024, you are required. If it's before January 2024, then you are not required. That's pretty much what they're saying. So who is a company applicant of my company? This is important. So let's talk about what is considered a company applicant. Each reporting company that is required to report company applicants will have to identify and report to FinCEN at least one company applicant and at most two. All company applicants must be individuals. Companies or legal entities cannot be a company applicant. Okay. These are two categories of company applicants, the direct filer and the individual who directs or controls the filing action. Okay. The first category, direct filer, must be identified by all reporting companies that have a company applicant reporting requirement. The second category, which is the person who controls it, may not be applicable to report to them, pretty much. Let's talk about what exactly is a direct filer in general, right? This individual is the person who directly files the documents that created the company, right? That's the person who actually created it, created the LLC, right? Or created the entity. The person who controls the other possible company applicant is the individual who primarily is responsible for directing or controlling the filing of the creation of the entity. This individual is a company applicant even though the individual did not actually file the document with the Secretary of State or similar office. Okay, so pretty much they're saying if you directly filed for the entity or you are the person that helped or pretty much assisted or is in control of the entity, then you are considered a company applicant. Okay, let's talk about this now. What specific information does my company need to report? Okay, super important. This is what they're telling you that you need to report, and it's sad. Your full name, any trade name, which is a doing business as name. You want a complete U.S. address, a state or tribal foreign jurisdiction of formation. If it's a foreign company, state or tribal jurisdiction of the first registration, you need pretty much an EIN number or a TIN number or an IRS number, one of the two, right? That's pretty much what you need to report. These things right here, right? So let me review. Name, doing business as name, a complete U.S. address. So let me explain what they mean by U.S. address. Report the address of the principal place of business in the United States, or if the reporting company's principal place of business is not in the United States, the primary location in the United States where the company conducts business. So think about what they just said. They need the address where you conduct business. Now this can be a gray area. You can say, oh, I conduct business with my virtual address that I have there. So that means that they're going to investigate that virtual address that you file, which could be an postal address with the building on it, and they may investigate it. Or they're saying that, oh no, not the virtual address, but the home in which you actually conduct conduct business. So they would need your home address if that's the place you actually regularly conduct business at. Okay. So next part, any state or tribal information, right? So this is everything that they need, and an EIN number or TIN number or IRS number. Okay. So this is pretty much what they need. Now for each beneficial owner or company applicant, they would need the full name, date of birth, address, current address, which is reporting the individual's residential street address, except for company applicants who form or register a company in the course of their business, such as paralegals. For such individuals, report the business street address. This address is not required to be in the United States. Now that is where you can finesse, y'all. But another thing that you need is a unique identifying number, right? Which is a passport, driver's license, or any other identification by the state. Okay, so they're pretty much telling you that you need to report the company. This is what you need to report the company as, and then they need you to report these 4 things as well as a beneficial owner. So in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, you need to give them at minimum 4 pieces of information for each entity that you have. That's so sad. I'm not giving you that. That's the whole point of me bringing the LLC, is so I don't have to put that information in. That's dead. Okay. What do I report if a special reporting rule applies to my company? Which we just talked about, right? We just literally talked about those things anyway. I want you to read this so that you can make sure that you have everything. This just reiterates when to actually report. So make sure you read this document. What if there are changes to the inaccuracies in reported information? Let's talk about it. What should I do if previously reported information changes? It says required when there is a change to previously report information about the reporting company itself or its beneficial owners. Updated reports due within 30 days after change. So pretty much even if things change, you have to report that. So this is why you have to get things done ASAP, okay? And just dissolve the LLC so you don't have to report it and convert to a business trust. This is why it's important, okay? So I hope this makes sense. I want you all to actually read this. This is actually very important. So it gives you all the resources here. So make sure you read all this. I know it's a bit longer, but I wanted to give you all the information. This document will be in the video below. Hopefully this makes sense. I appreciate you, and I hope you take action fast and soon. Peace out.